the Yale Program on Climate Change Communication. And I could not be more delighted to present my very good friend, Dr. Binbin Wang, who's been a friend of our program. We first met more than 10 years ago. She visited the US, she Googled climate change communication and found some folks at Yale that were doing surveys, and she came to learn about them. And since then, she's had a lot to say over the years, which she's going to share with us shortly. I just wanted to let you know that this program today, this webinar, is sponsored by the Yale Center for Environmental Communication. That is an umbrella organization over the Yale Program on Climate Change Communication that encompasses all the environmental communication assets at the School of the Environment. And that includes E360, which many of you I'm sure have heard of. It includes the other environmental journalism initiative, which is focused specifically on climate change, called Yale Climate Connections. And those are the two environmental journalism programs that we have. And then there's also, we engage in 3 other kinds of activities. Of course, teaching and training. There's lots of courses on environmental comms you can take both at the school and outside the school. Some professional trainings about environmental and climate communication as well. And in addition, we, of course, are doing a lot of convenings, right? That is definitely something that's a goal of ours, is to convene this global network of folks that are both scholars of climate communication as well as practitioners of it around the world. And then in addition, and the bottom line of everything, is the research that we conduct on public attitudes, perceptions, beliefs, behaviors, policy preferences. First, we started, a decade and a half ago on just studying the American public. And this has now expanded to a global enterprise where we've studied the same kinds of issues and attitudes in different countries, and also globally with our partners at Facebook or Meta on this. And we may get into talking about that a little bit later. But today, we're really here to let Binbin talk about the work that she's done in China. Now, just a couple of things. I do want to just talk a little bit about the logistics here. For those of us joining online, the chat is closed. Please use the Q&A feature at the bottom of your screen, and be aware that you will only see the question you asked. We have people in the room monitoring the questions, so be assured that your question will be seen. We are making a recording of this conversation available on our website, and we'll send a link to everybody who registered. So the one last thing I want to say is that we consider ourselves very enthusiastic about creating partnerships and becoming partners. Certainly, Binbin is a prime example of a partner in China. And we've helped support the 2 national surveys that she's conducted both in 2012 and in 2017 to understand Chinese public opinion on climate change. But if you yourself are online or in the room and are an organization looking for support in your communications around climate change, please reach out to our partnerships team at the Yale Program on Climate Change Communication, and that address is ypcc.partners@yale.edu. And next up, I'd like to present Emily Mingyu Zhang. She's a master's student here at the School of the Environment, and we're very grateful for the work you've done with us. And she'll present to you and introduce Dr. Wang. Thank you so much.
Hi, everyone. I'm Emily. I'm the YPCC social media project, helping YPCC to translate some of their insights to Chinese social media platform, Weixin and Weibo. And I help to co-host this event. I'm here to introduce Dr. Binbin Wang. And she is a current Yale World Fellow, a social scientist and climate activist. She has tracked the UNFCCC progress since 2009, and she offers extensive expertise in global climate governance, nature-based solution, strategic communication, and multi-stakeholder cooperation between actors. Binbin co-founded a local think tank to conduct national surveys in China, investigating the public perceptions of the climate, the key findings of which were picked up by China's National White Paper and the UNFCCC. Binbin now is accelerating bottom-up actions and joint efforts between China and the world toward global net zero transition. She holds BA and MA from Shandong University and is the first one in China to earn a PhD in climate communication from Renmin University. So without further ado, let's welcome Dr. Binbin.
Hey, thank you, Lisa and Emily, for your kind introduction and invitation, and thank you all of you to join this sessions, and also for the participants online. Thank you so much for your interest in climate and in China. And I will try this. Yes, makes sense. So my topic focuses on climate change in the Chinese mind, and I will share some slides, key findings from the survey in the previous 10 years, and also the reasons behind why this kind of transformation, and also share some pilots conducted by myself and the team, and then followed by the Q&A, and welcome your questions. So I'm now the World Fellow in Yale, and the World Fellow is the flagship, I think, of the Yale's grand strategy. I heard of Yale first because of the, Lisa and Tony's center, and then it's because of the grand strategy. Because now, we all talk about world order, talk about the relationship between US and China. Then behind that, what's the strategy? What's the strategy behind, during the Second World War and now? So it's the term grand strategy, and I think, wow, I'm so eager to know more. And this is why when I found this program, when I was told, yeah, Yale is hosting this program, I said I should be there to learn, not only help me to open my eyes and mind, not only focus on climate, I should understand more about the big world, the strategy behind, and that's to help me to contribute more to the cooperation between US and China, and cooperation, multilateral cooperation around the world. And every year, Yale invites 16 people from 16 countries. And this program hosted by Jackson School of Global Affairs. So we have different kind of events. And I really feel grateful and privileged because of this program. And also this program helped me to come here and continue our deep connection with YPCCC. So like I said in my cover letter, it's a friendship. I think 10 years ago, my first trip here in Yale gave me 10 years friendship and partnership with YPCCC. And this time, this program will mark another special benchmark in my life. So I'm still difficult to say what it is, because I'm still in the program. It was end in this December. But I hope at that moment, I can have the answer in my mind. I'm very optimistic about the answer now. And see, this is the cooperation between China Forces, the local think tank I co-founded, and YPCCC in the previous 10 years. At the very beginning, in 2012, as Lisa mentioned, I checked from Google. I just back from Copenhagen in 2009. At that moment, I found, wow, China really had a whole huge gap, to understand the international, the global climate governance, what is it, how China can contribute, how to cooperate with civil society and the media. So I searched who was doing the similar things, like to push the cooperation among different multi-stakeholders. So I found YPCCC, and it's a climate change communication. So I visited here and had a good talk, and Tony and Lisa helped me to design the survey in China, and that's it. That's why I can conduct the survey in the previous 10 years. But Tony let the team conduct the survey every year, every season, and I conduct survey every 5 years in China, because in China, every 5 years there will be a 5-year national plan. So the second year after the national plan, I conduct a survey to test whether the general public really gets the point in the national plan about climate change, whether they accept it or not, they support it or not. If yes, then a kind of policy briefing. If not, also a kind of another, policy briefing, but both of them will share with the central government to help the government to see, how to revise the policy, or when they implement the central policy to the national policy to the local level, how to help the people on the ground to understand it and to, get the people support. So this is what I was doing in China, and also use the survey to see how to mobilize the people, like behavior change, as all the people are consumers, to push the corporate to make a change, and thus use the corporate as like stakeholder to open dialogue with the government, and then push the government to make the change. So different kind of strategy to make use of the data. And in 2012, we co-organized CITE, I think one in China Pavilion, the pavilion which was hosted by the Chinese delegation, and another one is a public event. And we released the survey findings from China, from US, and from India, and also share the key findings from the comparative research. And one of the interesting points is that even 10 years ago, as my first survey, more than 90% of Chinese, they said they at least heard of climate change. It's 3 years right after Copenhagen. So before I went to Copenhagen, there are some debates in China whether climate change is the trap of US, like Trump mentioned during his administration. So whether like climate change is a trap of China. Actually, in around 2009, there are similar debates in China whether climate change is a trap of US. But then, because of the Copenhagen, the failure of the global, legally binding agreement, we didn't get that, and China was blamed. So China, the government, the delegation really reflect what happened, why this kind of blame, towards China, and how China can move ahead. So since then, Chinese government take climate change very seriously, and very quickly, at national level, they talk about climate change, and the media pick up climate change, and then the direct impact is a lot of people heard of climate change. So that's also the key findings from the survey. And I shared the key findings, and a very interesting point is that at that moment, head of China delegation, Minister Xie Zhenhua, pick up the data, this point. More than 90% they heard of climate change. They support Chinese government to address climate change. So Minister Xie said, see, this is why I always said China really takes seriously on climate change, because our people support us. This is like his discourse on Doha, that COP. And Christiana Figueres, the former Secretary General of UFCCC, also picked up the same data. But her discourse is that, see, we should really show our confidence or hope on China, because their people support them. So from Christiana's perspective, she wants to use the data to push China government to do more. And she also, expressed this kind of tones. Yeah, so we believe China can do more. So China feel comfortable, government feel comfortable, because it's not kind of like pressure from the outside. It's a confidence inside from their people. And Christiana just pick up the data, right? It's a data-based encouragement. And for Minister Xie, also pick up the data, because he want to use the data to express China's confidence. So this is also when we have this kind of data, different people will pick it up. But on climate, especially related to China topic, they pick up the data. Both of the sides, they want to encourage China government to go ahead. So this is a very interesting point I want to share. And then 5 years ago, it's 2017. And we also, besides our separate key findings, we also conduct like a comparative study. This is the key findings you can see. At that moment, right after Trump announced US will withdraw from the Paris Agreement, right? So all the international community feels so frustrated. And we worked so hard on Paris Agreement, and we just celebrated, then similarly, collapse. Without US, most of people don't know what we can do. Even there in China, inside China, there are different kinds of voices. Oh, should we still continue since even US, they will withdraw? So there are this kind of unstableness. So how to keep the momentum? And I think this is the key contribution from YPCCC and China 4C. And we can see that more than 70% of US people, they still support US stay in the Paris Agreement. And even like US withdrawal, and the people would like to support US to go on. So this is at that moment in 2017. It's a very strong signal to the international community, especially we release this findings during COP. So like it's a kind of a good news from people, not from the government, although the government, they can have different kind of perspective, but for people, I really love the slogan, in the People Pavilion. So in 2017, that COP, there's no US pavilion, no US delegation, but there's a People Pavilion. And the slogan, the People Pavilion, organized by the non-governmental organizations, universities from US. And the slogan is that we are still here. So very encouraged. And I think this is also the charming point of US. And you have besides the political system, the people, you are here, and we really feel you are so kindness, and you are so always encourage the rest of the world to come on, and we can work together. And here is the survey method, and actually we keep the same method with YPCCC, and to ensure, actually Tony advised me how to design the samples in China, how to make sure this survey is really representative, because China have, I'm not good at math, how to translate the Chinese word, the Chinese student here who can help me. How many, the population of China, Chinese? 14 billion. Yes, you're right. 14 billion people. So how to ensure this survey can represent 14 billion? We cannot reach out to everyone, right? Then how to make sure we really cover, this survey makes sense, and not online. When we talk about online survey, some people in rural area or in elder age, they cannot use computer. So it will only represent like the cities, or the rich people, or the students who are very good at internet. And also we have like Weibo or WeChat in China, similar. When we talk about online, some people, especially some vulnerable group, they will be like, they cannot be seen from this survey. So to make sure this survey can be representative, so the sampling plan is, in China, we have 350 units, which means like Beijing, Shanghai, Chongqing, and Shenzhen. They are the city managed by the central government directly. And besides that, we have provincials, and we have cities, and we have counties. And we try to, and so this is where the 350 units come from. And we set the samples in each unit, and also consider 6 segments, which is gender, age, urban or rural, location, income, and education, to ensure all people can be covered. And these samples really make sense in China. And so far, this is I think the only survey, because it's really spent money. It's not, since it's not online, it's a phone call. So the final sample is 4,162, similar with the previous 2 surveys I conducted. That's to make the comparative research as followed. But in total, we have call more than 10,000 people to ensure finally we can get to the 4,000. So it's we have to spend a lot of time and a lot of money to conduct it. But we really think it's valuable. It's valuable for people in China and the world to understand the real China. So this is the 1.4. 1.4. Okay, so we are the same, not good at math. And so this is the key findings. You can see still keep the high marks at more than 95% of respondents they think climate change is happening. And here, as in the previous 10 years, very similar at a very high level. And so what do you worry, whether you worry about climate change? Here you can see more than, I think it's almost 80% of the respondents say they worry about climate change. And this is whether they think climate change is important to them personally. And I visited some, especially rural places area in China, like Gansu, like Yunnan, and also Tibet. And the people there, although they are very poor, but they really think climate change is real. Why? Because the weather changed. In Chinese, we had a term like 24节气, which means we can separate the whole year to 24 seasons, not 4 seasons. And the farmers rely on each season to decide whether it's time for them to watering the plant or to for harvest. But because of the climate change and this kind of 24 traditional seasons changed as well. So for farmers, they're very difficult to follow the traditional culture. And sometimes it should be raining there, but it's the ice ball and destroy everything and they lose their livelihood. So this is why the people in rural areas, they understand climate change at a personal level. And in the recent years, more and more the people in urban areas, they understand climate change because flooding, and also droughts happened almost every day in China in different places. So very similar as here. And nearly 70% of respondents think this is the question Tony advised me to ask because to conduct for the following comparative research, and also interesting whether climate change have linkage with economic growth. There are also some strong space in China, especially when before China announced the carbon neutral goal. So whether if China announced the carbon neutral goal, whether it will limit the economic development. So here we can see people support to take action, and they think they are not conflict. And here I also added 3 more questions for this year. When we talk about climate policy, we try to test people's attitude towards China's carbon neutral goal, which is before 2060. And the result is very unexpected, very high support. And you can also see they believe, nearly 90% of respondents, they believe China will reach it. And they want to learn more. This is very interesting. 10 years ago, the first time when I conducted a survey, they want to learn more information about climate impact, especially the people in urban. They say, yeah, something like climate is just happened in Antarctica about the polar bear, not on me at a personal level. But now they become more and more understand what the climate impact is. So what do they want to learn? Really, about the next step is about climate change solution. So which means they want the scientists tell them, see, help me, what I can do. So it is also a big change in China. People began to care about their own contribution to address climate change, and they want to participate to the process. And here is the key findings. So in China, people keep the high awareness on climate, and there are also a rising willingness to take actions. At least they want to know how. And more people would like to pay more for climate-friendly products. And also there are strong bottom-up support on China's latest climate policy. So you may have questions, for me, I based in China and I got all my education in China. So when I got the findings, it's not so surprised, but I totally understand you may have a lot of question marks in your mind. Why? So let's try to analyze what's the reason behind. So first is what climate change is. Since it's a school of environment, I know you all understand that climate change. When we talk about climate change, it's not just, today is warm, tomorrow is cold, right? It's not a daily change, it's an annual average temperature change. So in China, here is let me see how to play it. Yeah, please. So voice, mute the voice, please, that I can explain. So you can see this is from the first year, which recorded the temperature in China, and to 2021, the temperature changed in China. And at the very beginning is green, and then temperature rise. And you can see every time when I show this map, I will ask the audience, especially in China, to find out their hometown. You can see the temperature rising everywhere, right? And this is the extreme weather caused by climate change happened globally. So it's not like climate reality in China, but around the world. And this is also why, IPCC now is very active in China, and a lot of Chinese scientists participate in the process of IPCC to assess whether climate change is real and what's the updates. So they organize like climate change communication events once IPCC reports release, and they will help the general public in China to understand the IPCC report. So this is why also contribute, I think, to why the general public now begin to more and more understand climate change is really happening. So the previous slide show at scientific perspective, since climate change is true, so people's awareness is there, why the percentage is so high. And at governance level, we can see it's from the very beginning, so far there are more than decades. And China at the very beginning is EU who initiates the discussion about climate change. They have awareness on environment issues, and the talk, EU leads the global climate governance and the debates, also the discourse. And then around 2009, US rising up, and at that moment it's like EU and the US joint leadership. And then 2005 is 2015 Paris Agreement is US, China, and EU. So this kind of joint leadership there. So from 2009 to 2015, 6 years, what happened, from China's side, from the follower to a kind of, players who can show their leadership. So this is also my strong interest to analyze what happened. And this is where I am at the moment, participate the process, especially as a witness. And when we talk about global climate governance, there are the typical character is multi-levels, multi-stakeholders. And so this is the framework I try to set up, like to pick up the international level and the national level as the framework. I try to analyze why China's transition happened between 2009 and 2015, and also from this in this process, who is the key stakeholders, and I identify that at this both levels is the media, NGO, especially international NGO, and the China government, and they interact with each other. And at the very beginning, China government didn't know how to cooperate with them, but since then there are different. Because of, I think it's also a contribution of Copenhagen, because of failure of Copenhagen, the blaming of Copenhagen. So the China government tried to reflect and attempt to open the door, and some people in civil society also have this kind of feelings, and I'm also part of them, and we try to set up a bridge. And at government level, It's Minister Xie Zhenhua, the counterpart of John Kerry here, and also Dr. Li Gao. Dr. Li Gao is Marianne's, excellent student. He got his master here in Yale, so graduate from here and back to China and lead the Chinese delegation together with Minister Xie Zhenhua. So they really did a very good job, and they understand what US is thinking and the rest of the world. So the civil society also would like to provide support, but not change the strategy behind try to understand China's culture. China welcome, advice, but it should be a kind of constructive advice. Let me know how I can promote. But if you, like in Western country, we used to protest, put pressure like Greenpeace, but it doesn't make sense in China. But even Greenpeace, they changed their strategy in China. They changed the strategy from like, I blame you because you did not so good, but I found the problem. I know the gaps, and I try to also provide the solutions. And then I share the solution, the advice with you, with the government. So that's in China nowadays, even Greenpeace, they worked very well. So the key findings when I try to look back from the two-level games theory framework, if I find that China's government has to listen to the voices from the international level and domestic level. So domestic level, now we have the civil society on climate, they are very active. And international level, we have John Kerry, we have like Germany and also the UK and other countries. So China is not an island. It cannot just close the door, have to really open the door, and no matter what kind of like global geopolitical crisis, China has changed. Please believe this point. And then if you have advice, if you maybe we can help you to express the voice with the government, then it may make sense. So when we talk about China, please do not put yourself outside this context. We together can contribute to China's transformation. And so whether China is serious on carbon neutrality, this is also the debate I hear from Yale, a lot of discussion. So this is China's commitments in 2020. So reach the carbon peak before 2030 and reach the carbon neutrality before 2060. So the key point is China government really work very hard on tasks. English is our second language. We are not good at English, but this time we take it so seriously. So what's the difference between by and before? So we want to show, China's ambitions, but suddenly, like from the feedback I hear, in Yale, I think it didn't make sense as China expects. So by is including, right? It's yes, I can wait till that year. Before is no, I cannot wait till that year. I will reach it before that year. Now make sense? You can feel China's ambition? Yeah, so it can work very, very hard and may reach, much, much earlier than this year. So it shows its ambition in this kind of English test game, if we can call it game. You really work so hard on English test when we, involved in the negotiation. Oh, what's the difference? What's the difference? Should and shall, right? So here we learn from the English word. Yes, it's very important. We should highlight before, not by, not include that year. This is our ambitions. So please help China to express this kind of ambitions. Yes, it is there. And this is also after the announcement, China now has a 1+N policy and action system, which means that not only the central government, but also different industries have to, implement their own carbon neutral plan. Even Ministry of Education. Now, the primary and middle school and universities, they all have classes on carbon neutrality. And around the world, around the country, not only in Beijing. So it's one of their KPI. And also to ensure all industry have understand the carbon neutrality. So you can see there are some support policies like finance, taxation, and for enterprise, how to understand it, and also carbon market. So it's a kind of a system mechanism to ensure China really can reach the carbon neutrality. And I also heard that since US will have another, election next year, so China now feel, yes, even if Trump again, China will still continue. So no doubt, because this kind of a transformation, green revolution, is a kind of for all humankind. And it's like after the second industry revolution, now we give up the fossil fuel, we all accept the renewable energy, which means that all the lifestyles, the working styles will change accordingly. So it cannot be influenced by only one country, one president, because it's a common trend for all humankind. So this is what we realized and why China is so serious about the climate change. And this is, so I'm also the leading expert on the Germany, Sino-Germany, I think it's a kind of expert team, who provide our advice for the two governments to ensure they can understand each other and also follow up the negotiation. So here is we conducted a comparative research on both countries. So you can see the difference or what kind of stage, very similar. Both China and Germany, we take climate change, take the carbon neutrality very seriously. But unfortunately, because of the geopolitical crisis of Russia and Ukraine, and Germany was impacted negatively, and now they have to postpone their carbon neutrality. But we still work very closely to see whether there's a turning point for Germany to rethink their carbon neutral goal. And even though they postpone this question, this problem is still, their priority. Like Jennifer Morgan, the special envoy from Germany, she always worked very hard, actively, with different countries to see how Germany can pick up carbon neutrality. And this is also the systematic comparative study, like China is a kind of national top-down, and Germany is from a local level to top level. And we found it's a different kind of way to take actions, but we are on the same page, like to show the similar efforts and for the common goal, but based on the different context, we have different approach. So this is maybe some points can help you to understand. Although it's different, maybe also with US. Yeah. And also there are, at local level, there are a lot of pilots on low carbon, on adaptation, and also on climate finance. I will share the slides with you after the presentation. So this is the strategy, how to use the data. And yesterday I was challenged, since the general public understand, they heard of climate change and they support Chinese government so much, then what's the usage of your data? Why you still conduct it? Because every year, we can use the data for different points. It's an updated strategy. Like the first year, I used the data, the high level awareness to share with the government to encourage them to continue, and also share with UNFCCC to encourage China to go ahead. And now, after 10 years, the very key important is here, the question about carbon neutral goal, and we share the people's attitude to China's carbon neutral goal with the government. Encourage the government, yes, please go. Please really take it seriously. And then you can see here, we also conduct the comparative research with the previous two surveys, and thus we can have the findings. What's the like, especially the behavior change, the potential for behavior change. And thus we can push the consumers to change their, like at the very beginning, they say climate change, they not understand climate change, they don't want to pay, and now they want to pay some. Then the people where they located, which education level, what kind of education level, and it's a women or men, then we can identify them out and focus, design different kind of campaign strategy and share this together with like international NGO and local NGO, and then we can work together to push the consumers' behavior change. And when the consumers' behavior change, they can use their money to vote for the corporates. So the corporates will also change, and all the corporates, if the corporates change their to support more climate-friendly products, they will also influence the consumers. So this is kind of a circle. And the governments also provide support to the corporates, because the corporates change is a kind of support to the government's carbon neutral goal. And here the survey this year, we also test the sustainable consumption, and this result can also contribute to the behavior change. So this is a strategy, it's a kind of not only focus on the government, but really try to analyze the how to work together with the multi-holders in China to work to identify different groups, and then help to provide solutions for them to change their action. And finally, this is and also take care of Global Alliance of Universities on Climate. So based on the multi-level, multi-stakeholder structure of global climate governance, so we have the strategy for the alliance, GALC. And at the national level, we train the trainers every year. At the regional level, we help identify the COP regions to host the regional forum and invite the universities, academia on that continent to share the updated, research and push the dialogue between students, young people, with scholars, with policymakers at the regional level. And then global level, we initiate the Global Youth Climate Week. It's 1 week before each COP. So it's GALC together with 100 global partners supported by UNFCCC. And this year is November 20 to 24th. Please join us to organize your event and update your event to the main site of the week. And finally, this year we will organize the GALC Pavilion in the Blue Zone. If you have a chance to go COP28, welcome to our pavilion. And Yale is also the member university of GALC. So that's all. Sorry, I promised to, 30 minutes, so many elements I want to highlight. This is 2019. I together with 90 women, female scientists from 28 countries. We gather together in Antarctica, and we all work on climate change. So that you can see what we want to do, take climate action now. Okay.
So this has been obviously a fascinating talk, very wide-ranging, both about public perception about climate change in China through the past decade, and then also this kind of call and response of public attitudes and opinion in China, and how that is impacting strategically the national approach to climate change in China. And this is fascinating because you're both involved with this public opinion work, which is a complete job in and of itself, but you're also involved in this governance issues, which are very challenging and very interesting. So we're going to get to your questions. We do have a lot of people online as well who have submitted questions. So just to start us off, I want to, hopefully this isn't too ambitious a question, Binbin, thank you. As you know, there's of course a lot of nuance to all of this, to public perception about climate change, to this strategy behind governments between these world powers and domestically, in the US and China. And the way that China has been presented in the media in our is perhaps missing a lot of that nuance. And that's why we appreciate having somebody like you come to explain this in more detail. So I'm just wondering, are there some basic takeaways that Americans should understand about the approach to climate change in China and the understanding of climate change in China that you would really like us to be able to take away from all of your insights over the past decade?
Great question. So I try to symbolize my answers. So first is, as I mentioned several times, please have the confidence that China really takes the climate change issue, takes the carbon neutrality very seriously. And please also help China to think like how to implement. And it's a common like challenge for all of us, because when we talk about climate neutrality, it's really a fresh topic, not only for China, but also for US, for all the countries. And what's the future is. So it's really need our like joint efforts to think of it, but not, just dragged back to the like geopolitical crisis, tension between US and China. It's beyond that, okay? And it's also a pilot for all of us to think how to, like, if we can really cooperate in this area, in the field of climate, then it can be the pilot to help us to understand how to like scale it up to more fields and to maybe to contribute to the global peace.
Thank you. That's wonderful. Just one more question from those that we got online. What do you think about the anti-climate change action movements currently growing around the world? This kind of denier protests that are happening, and especially as they relate to how China and the US, as obviously world powers, may be able to cooperate. So that's a good segue from your answer to the previous question to counteract those movements.
So to be frankly, in China, now most of the voices are support, because the whole context. So what I want to say is that different countries have different contexts, and first we should understand our own country's context, and like in US, and also related to the elections next year. So there are some deniers, came out again. But first is the basic line is the scientific evidence is there. So it's true, right? We should believe in it. And if some deniers, we just try to understand their point and use the scientific based evidence to debate. And if it doesn't make sense, just do ourselves, just take action by ourselves. And I'm sure there will be somebody, influenced by and join us. And it's in US. And in China, China has its own context. And please, let's respect each other, but not only, blame. Blame is you put yourself outside of the chessboard, outside of the part. But as I said, everyone here, everyone in Yale and in US, you really can contribute to China's transformation in the coming years. So please do share your insights. And also, I think this is Marianne's contribution. Yeah, she educated our leaders on climate. And this is amazing, right? This kind of cooperation, this kind of joint efforts really make sense for the future. And it's always the truth. It's always the truth. And please make friends, try to recognize, try to set connection with the real people. China is not only one person. China is not only the government. There are a lot of brilliant people there. Please welcome to China and make friends with them and find out the joint solutions together. I think this is the key point, especially for the stage now.
Thank you. And at this point, I'd love to open it up to your questions. We certainly want to privilege the live audience in the room. So does anybody have a question for Binbin? Sure, go ahead.
So you're just talking about climate deniers, and increasingly in the United States as well as other parts of the world, miscommunication is becoming a greater thing of actively putting out incorrect information regarding climate change, and the amount of support within China is quite startling in a good way. So I was wondering if you could speak to the presence or lack of presence of miscommunication and sort of like how that plays a role within the work that you've done.
That's great.
So I think in the like I said, as a very beginning, sorry, because of the light, it's a broke out my. Could you please repeat your question?
Just summing up, what role does miscommunication play within climate perceptions in China?
Okay, so actually, it's also a China's contest. It's like top down, right? And we are now pushing the bottom up. So since it's top down, the political system is top down, and once the central government really takes the problem seriously, then the system will take it serious, although there are some challenge. But the miscommunication at the public level will be very small. And the big challenge in the previous years is also for my institute, before 2020, the point is how to make sure the central government really take it seriously, how to lobby the central government to understand, the net zero future is not only, it's really benefit China and also benefits the world. If China, you really can contribute to the global peace, please go ahead this way. So this is my institute as a think tank in Tsinghua, what we did around 2019 to conduct this kind of research and share our point with the central government. And very lucky, our point was accepted. And so you can see, then this political system makes sense. I think a very high consensus on climate, on carbon neutrality now. And different countries have different political system and no perfect political system. And this is why, as people, we should work hard to push democracy around the world, right? But what I want to say is democracy is not a label here. It's not, yes, I'm a democracy, you are not. It's not this kind of blaming. Democracy is you observe the real people, what they are doing. Democracy is that you understand each other and we have space to speak out freely. So this is why I respect the US so much. But other countries, I really feel there are democracy space in China. As I'm not a member of a Communist Party, I'm a member of an association of promotion democracy. And what I did in the previous years is really contribute to the bottom up to help the people voice out. So maybe not directly to your questions, but try to help to understand.
Yeah, thank you.
I do agree that one of the things that you, in your person, just coming here and helping us to understand Chinese culture and the Chinese approach to climate change, it's been very insightful and helpful and revealing to understand that, just because of the way the US media presents China as kind of monolithic, it's very top-down, very, its culture of collective action, there's a lot more diversity in public opinion and approaches than I think we're aware of generally in the United States. And I think that this is a key point. There's a lot more subtlety and diversity on the ground in terms of action, and that's very helpful. Does anybody else have a question from the audience? Professor Terto, please go ahead.
So I'm guessing that China is helping many other countries with a lot of the climate change problems. Could you share with us some of the things that you would like to be supporting, especially in other large countries like Indonesia and so forth?
Yes, I think it's still a learning and a reflection process for China. China has a South-South climate cooperation. Right. Although here, when I talk about South-South climate cooperation, they said whether China is still a global South. As I see, it's China and other developing countries right after the Second World War as the part who have no voice. They set up they call them as global South, and they work together, help each other, South-South. And now China became rich and say, oh, you are not part of the Global South. Does that mean that once you graduated, you are actually what China is doing now is still use a frame South-South cooperation to help other poor developing countries. And but the lessons is that China learned from the UK, from France. Yes, just many business, many private sector, they go outside, but their behavior also need to improve. They just repeat what they did in China. They don't know how to protect the environment, and then they destroy the environment in other countries. So this is also some civil society. They work very hard now in China to educate the private sector who would like to, invest outside. Please respect the local people. Please protect the environment. And the government also have a huge fund, like also the initiative, Belt and Road Initiative. Yeah, China is very good at trading. In the long history, China never invade any other countries, but made very good trade with other countries. So what I think is China really need to think of how to educate the corporate, the group who would like to go outside to help other people to really, work on the local people's demand and, help the local people, but not repeat what they did badly in China. So it's kind of at the same level, at the same pace.
Thank you. We're obviously getting a little pressure from the class. It's in here at once. I think Binbin may be available to answer some of your questions afterwards. I want to thank you all for coming, everybody online. And we can continue this conversation. I do want to let you know that our next Yale Center for Environmental Communication webinar will be on December 1st about deep canvassing. Thank you so much. So we'll take the conversation outside because the class is going to be